welcome back to the Your Project Shepherd podcast. We are doing a remote podcast today, and we are here at the offices and studios of Authenticus. Authenticus is a 3D visualization company here in Houston that was started recently by Schimpf. And Jay is joining us today to kind of talk about what their services are and how they got started and how this benefits you as the consumer. So Jay, thanks for letting me come by your studio this morning and talking with me. So tell us about, I guess, first about your background, kind of what you did before this, and then how you got started, how this idea came about.
Yeah, no, I'd be happy to. Like so many before me, it kind of started in construction, which is where this kind of stemmed from, and it was remodels, flipping houses, and then moved into custom construction and kind of the high end, building multiple projects at the same time. Just anyways, point was it was a custom experience, and when you build custom, you've never built it before, and there's always usually a surprise. We try to limit those as much as possible with our thoroughness, looking over plans. But even on plans, sometimes per professional, you still can miss a couple things. Staircases, for instance, might be just a hair off and kind of coming into a window, or you never know what you'll come across. But anyways, one of the bigger things was clients and kind of the unhappiness, or the middle of the project scenario where you started building it and all of a sudden it's not what they visualize, and that happens way too many times. And you technically can blame the clients because you're like, hey, I explained it as best as I could. It's right there on the paper. The building specs say that's what we're doing. And the client, you sign off on all of it. But clients don't like that. And one of the things that you just constantly, you're always trying to please them, but it's just one of those things that never sits right with anybody. And so that's kind of what started down this process. It was just seeing what technologies was out there, and that just kind of led into a lot of research and studying, and that's kind of where we came into projecting technology, and then the 3D technology, the augmented reality, the virtual reality, the mixed reality. There's a lot of realities out there, and so that's kind of what started this, was just how can we bring the visualization, which we'll call, if you ask me for a 36 or one sentence, what do you do? We've narrowed it down to, we are an immersive visualization technology service company. Yeah, say that 10 times fast. But anyways, we want to fully immerse the clients in the experience, and there's a variety of ways to do that. And in those ways, we start with a simple 2D plans, which is in our studio, which is just off a PDF. Everyone's got a PDF, and we know a lot of architects and designers might not have converted to Revit, which is a program that designs, and that program designs it into 3D and allows people to see plans in 3D, but not everyone has adopted that yet. So there's still a lot of people out there designing in CAD and just designing in a 2D world still. And I'd hate to say this, but I think some of you all out there would agree, the residential construction is still a very archaic industry compared to a lot of the other industries out there. And so we're trying to branch that. It's not been easy, but I feel like it's what is coming, what is needed. Technically, it's already there. So
that technology's been around for a while. The VR technology and gaming and lots of other industries. And so, you guys may not be kind of the first in this industry to do this, but you're the first that I know of in our market here in Houston. And I think what you guys are offering is unique among other companies that do this. You've got so many different ways to help homeowners visualize what they're getting between, like you said, between the projecting the floor plans. And for those of you who are listening to this recording, I would encourage you to go and check out the video version as well, because we're going to cut away and show you a lot of videos in their studio while we're talking, so you can kind of see what we're discussing. But they project the floor plan on the ground in this giant warehouse back here behind us.
We like to call it a studio.
Studio warehouse. It's really a warehouse, but it's a studio
Uh,
now. But they project that floor plan so you can walk through your whole house. You can feel where the rooms are, and they've got furniture that they will place in the floor plan. You can walk around your floor plan, say, "This is where my couch is going. This is in my kitchen. This is where my cabinets are. This is where my washer dryer is in the laundry room. In my bedroom, this is what it feels like to have a bed in this space." So if you're listening, I would encourage you to hop on the video side and watch and see some of the cutaways that we're going to do for this. But one thing that you mentioned that is just it's so true. We've had this problem. I'm sure all builders have had this problem uh, where clients they'll kind of sign off on something during the design phase, and they think they understand, and then when it starts getting built, they're like, "Wow, this is not what I envisioned." And it's an area of conflict, and and you've done this before. I'm sure I've done this. Most builders have done this, and we have to protect ourselves. But we say, well, that's what you signed off on. That's what you're getting.
Yep.
And I hate to say that, but at the end of the day, that's how we have to protect ourselves. And we have given the client as much information as we can to help them visualize that. So having this tool, I think, is a fantastic way it protects everyone. It protects me as the builder. It protects the client because everybody is getting a better picture of what it is that we're doing, right?
Yeah. Well, and one thing I want to clarify with the studio versus virtual reality. In the studio, you're getting a spatial feeling. Okay. Virtual reality can't do that. And I'm not discounting that because we do that too. There's a great realistic conceptual visualization with virtual reality, but you can't get the exact like dimensions and the feeling of what a furniture piece would be like or the wall with the furniture in the space. Um, and that's it seems so simple, but that's what the studio is doing. It allows you to bring and stage a whole room and physically walk that room. And so we flush out so many unknowns with this process. And it's good for, I mean, it's very beneficial for the clients, but it's actually really good for the architects and builders too. I mean, we know what the plans are going to look like, but there's still things that slip. I mean, it looks all gravy on the plans, and then all of a sudden, ooh, we didn't realize that door swings that way, and we just catch it last night. I mean, we design on the fly all the time in custom, and we can adapt, and that's how we continue to do it. And but go through this process, and it kind of eliminates a lot of that. And the biggest thing with that spatial is it actually speeds up the design process. I've don't know how many times we've had people just think that it causes another step and causes more work. Well, it technically can if you do it at the wrong time. Like, say you're completely done with your plans and you're getting ready to start building, and then you come in, you're going to find changes, right? And everyone's going to be upset with that. The builder is going to be upset because now they can start building. The architect or designer is going to be upset because now they got to go back and change all the layers. So we have found a good process to kind of put this into, and that's kind of like right at the floor. So you design the floor plan first, and you'll redline it, get that first version, or I should say second version of the floor plan done before you start working on all the layers.
Yeah.
And that has been the best time by just consensus of all the architects and designers out there saying, okay, I can do this at that point, get the floor plan completely solidified and written off by the client, and then continue to proceed further. And it eliminates so many questions at the end. And to your point that you mentioned earlier with the clients, like there's so many clients out there that they just won't speak up, either because it's ignorance and they just don't know and they don't want to admit that they don't know.
To be embarrassed.
It could be embarrassment. I mean, there's a lot of variables that they might not know or want to speak up in that time. And so when do they speak up? Well, either at the end of design, right before start and build, or you're in the middle of the build and they speak up, right? And so, let's flush all that out now.
And it can erode confidence in the builder too. It can erode confidence in the builder, the architect. because they feel like, and they're right, that we're the experts, we're the ones that do this every day. You know, so they'll say, "Why didn't you tell me this was how it was going to be?" So it's
And we
again,
try to say we can't. We did.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, how we drew it on the board. We drew more 2D. I mean,
yeah,
we
yep, yeah. We drew an elevation. Um, you know, I had my team from Crafted here in the studio a few weeks ago to do a tour and to show them this technology, and just as a great example of something that we were able, not on one of our plans, but on a sample
of course it
plan.
wouldn't be one of your plans.
Well, our plans don't have mistakes. It was a sample plan that Jay had projected on the floor. We were walking through, and there was a laundry room shown, and Jacob, our designer, our architectural designer, said this looks kind of small on the plan. So we took there's some movable wall sections, which we'll show you on the video here in a second. So we rolled walls into place on the projected plan. We rolled a washer dryer into the space, and we were able to see how tight this laundry room really was. And so again, if you're doing that early, if you're doing that during like a schematic design phase, it's not too late to change that laundry room. Once you get all the way through construction documents and you're ready to start construction, I mean, you can still make the change, but it's more expensive. It's more time consuming. Maybe you're changing permits. You're getting new bids from subcontractors.
Yeah.
It's the wrong time to do it.
Yeah, I mean, as much as we want business and we want people to come in to use our service, we will advise people don't come in at this stage. It is going to cause probably a lot more frustration and friction with everybody involved because there will be changes.
Yeah. And in that example, if that spatial awareness didn't take place until the house was framed already, or until there's drywall going up, and then you're like, "Oh crap, this laundry room is too small." I mean, now you either can't change it or it's very expensive to change it.
Oh
So,
yeah.
yeah, obviously, the further you get along in the process, the more expensive those changes become. So, as we've talked about before on the podcast, most architects and designers have a multi-step design process. One's going to be kind of conceptual, where we're talking about, hey, this is the general floor plan. Then schematic design, which is kind of where often the first PDF will take place. And so during that schematic design, the architect will have a scalable PDF that they can send over to Jay and his team, projected at that point. Then you walk through it. And then it's often at that time, it's no extra cost for the architect to make changes at that phase because it's already part of their design process to where they're making changes at these certain phases. So catching those mistakes very early on is key to a successful project.
Right, right. And what you're kind of mentioned there is kind of coming through the studio. Then when you do get to the end of the project, we can take it more steps further, and that's kind of where our other services kind of come in play when we start talking about the 3D world and creating a 3D model and being able to look through your own phone or smart device or even glasses that we have here where now you're able to see the 3D object come to life to scale, and that we generally do that kind of at the end when you're like, okay, plans are done, great, send us the plans. We'll kind of flush out selections because we have a process ourselves, and they might not be your final selections, but we want to get it as close as you can. So we'll take inspiration photos, whatever, and we'll create a 3D model for you, and then allow you to walk it or see it in many different tools or features that we kind of offer.
So we've talked about the projection services of the plans, the spatial planning, and then so the VR. Talk to us more about the VR side, what you see in the VR, what the application is for that.
Yeah. So after you kind of get through the spatial design, now it's more of the conceptual visualization. And where people want to see at that point is the windows, the doors, the ceilings, something that you're not going to necessarily see in the studio. I mean, you can if there's side elevations done, but even then you're getting kind of one-sided of that. And there's still value there. But when you take it to, hey, let's see what the ceilings look like. I got barrel ceilings or groin ceilings or some kind of cathedral ceiling that you're not going to be able to see on a 2D. That's where the 3D world kind of really helps get people's minds around that. So that's kind of at the end of design. kind of right before you start construction is kind of when we suggest kind of doing that. And we'll, like I said, we'll mock up a model, whether it was, and you might already have a model. Some people design in that Revit software I was talking about, and so then you already have a model. So then it's just plugging into our augmented reality app, and we created this app to be very convenient for everybody. It's actually free to download in Apple and Android stores. It's just Authenticus AR, and you can find it there and play with it right now. But the purpose of that was, hey, let's just allow people to have the opportunity to walk their houses anywhere. They can see a dollhouse version and kind of see every single angle of that house right there on their table. They can go in their backyard and walk their future house. We really thought, why not make this very convenient? Because we have virtual reality. I mean, we got the glasses, goggles, and you usually have to be either tethered with the virtual reality. I mean, now that the goggles are getting more advanced, it's wireless. You guys will see some of that here. Actually, we even have a couple posts of Curtis in our studio, playing with them as well. But you'll be able to see what that kind of looks like. It's a really cool experience, very futuristic, great tool to use as well. And that doesn't have to be done here; it can be done elsewhere. But the whole point of the augmented reality app was, hey, you can take that home with you and you can pull it up whenever you want to. It's always available to you, and so it's a very simple process, and that's kind of why we created that, because not everybody can use the goggles, not everybody wants to use the goggles. So, but everyone's got a smartphone. I mean, I would think so, at least at this point. There's a couple of flip phones out there still.
So the other service is that you showed us is we can give you photos of a space of either a completed kitchen. Well, yeah, typically it's for remodels, right? It's like a completed
It
kitchen.
could be a remodel. It can be a 3D image. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
So it's a what we call our selections visualizer, and it's a masking technology. You literally take any photo, whether it's a kitchen, you're outside, and you just might not be sure what your selections are yet. We start with somewhere. We start with either the picture, whether it's a remodel picture, or the current house or kitchen or whatever it is, or a 3D representation of that specific area. And then we mask it, and then we just send you a link. Again, we've tried to do this whole thing as a quick, simple process for people, and try to even keep it very affordable as well. Because you just take that photo, mask it, we just send you a link. You don't have to buy any software. You don't have to go through the process of learning software. It's just a link. When you get that link, it's your picture, and then the picture then has every little part of it that you can modify, and you can change it with. We have the database, which we're constantly uploading more and more and more manufacturers. We actually just uploaded another 35 manufacturers in there. So now we got things like Marvin windows, Geldwin windows, Pella windows. I mean, we've added a bunch of just manufacturers that are really well known, and just continuing adding more and more, because that was our goal.
And then paint colors, so Sherwin-Williams colors,
Sherwin-Williams
Benjamin
and
Moore
Benjamin Moore. We
colors.
got the whole library of those, which we may add another. Actually, no, we do have one more. It's one up north. That's not necessarily applicable. See, we're franchising as
Right.
well, so we're kind of all over the country. So we're adding different manufacturers from different parts of the country.
Yep.
So we've realized that we kind of do that too.
Which manufacturer did you add?
I believe it's Alma Paints.
Okay.
It's somewhere up north, Michigan, Minnesota area, that wanted to get in that. So, anyways,
But countertops, tile,
flooring,
cabinets, flooring, all that kind of stuff. So people can pop in different colors and finishes to really see what their space is going to look like. Even if you can't find your exact brand that you're choosing, more than likely you're going to find something that's
Some
pretty darn
variation.
close. You can get a really good visualization of what that space is going to look like with your selected finishes in it.
And that was the other goal, was you can go to a renderer or someone to just do a generic library of just colors, and that also, so that works, but that we tried to get a little bit more realistic with real selections. And even some of the real selections, we've just added another neat feature where you can click the button, and if it has an I button on it for that specific product, it'll take you directly to that manufacturer's website, and then you can actually order samples. So just another added feature there for some of the products.
And if people do renderings, because we've done this before, where we've sent plans and selections off to a rendering company, and they send it back. Um, that's great, but if you want to make changes to it, it's a wait,
To wait,
and it's more
or it's
cost.
cost, right?
And so with this, you set it up one time. It's a one-time cost to create the model or the masking layers, and then you can sit at home on your couch for as long as you want to, and just keep changing those selections.
Yeah, some people love it, some people hate it, but it's one of those tools that it's there, and we're seeing a lot of DIYers, like the remodelers that want to do it themselves.
Yeah.
We're seeing a lot of people gravitate towards that, and people, the real estate agents, actually.
So what are the differences between that visualizer and some of the ones that are already on the market? Like I think Sherwin-Williams has
Yeah,
a visualizer, and some other companies. What are the advantages to
sure.
yours?
So, that's a good question, because we didn't create the wheel here. What we did was we saw all these different visualizers out there that are that manufacturer specific um, product. So, like a roofing company, a garage door company, a paint company, like, yeah, you can go ahead, upload a picture of your house, and then you'll be able to see their product on your house, right?
Mhm.
And so it's the same concept, only we said, hey, let's give them everything, right? Let's give them all the manufacturers. Let's give them all of the components of the house under one tool. And nobody was doing that, because and I understand why not, because I mean, they're not trying to sell other people's
Right.
products. And so that's the difference here. And the bigger difference is that we opened this up to the public, so anybody can just kind of quickly upload it and do it, and
Yeah.
and it's very quick and easy. So
I think on some of the free ones, the quality is not always that great too. Like I've played around with some of the ones that are, you know manufacturers apps that you can download, and it might be okay for just a quick, hey, does this color scheme kind of work? But the quality of that image isn't all that great.
sure.
Whereas the ones that I've seen of yours are a much higher quality, much more realistic feeling.
So, and we do offer two options there. So I'm glad you pointed that out. Which both of them, the masking technology itself is done. So we do it where it's actually being done with a combination of AI and people. So there's an AI technology that quickly masks things, and then a person comes behind it and corrects anything that doesn't get corrected. Where some of those ones that you might just see online is completely all AI, and you might get like a tree that kind of just skews the whole view of it, and right, it makes it all blotchy or whatever.
Yeah.
And so anyway, so that's part of it. But we also have an added feature. There's an added cost because it adds more work to the process, but you can do just a standard photo, and we can just standardize it. But we can also add um, shadows and glare as well. So to make it more realistic, we call it our HD experience. So it takes a little bit more time, but we can still do it for a little extra cost. But it makes it that much more real.
So, do you offer this service just through someone's builder or architect? Can the public come to you directly? Like how do you work with people?
Sure. So both. We prefer to work directly to the architects, builders, designers, developers out there, just because from a business standpoint, we want repeat business. But because of my background, because of knowing our industry, I really wanted to kind of partner with companies and say, hey, let us be an extension of your service. Let us be an added value to you. And so, with that in mind, we have a membership that we've created, and if you become a member, then there's discounted rates to and other benefits to our members, which are usually the architects, builders, or designers. Because again, we just want to be an extension of your services. But people can come to us. We do have people. I'd say it's probably 30% right now off the street, and then 70% businesses that come in right now. So we can and we will, service whoever needs help.
Yeah. I don't want to get into specific pricing because I don't want to kind of date this recording necessarily, because today's pricing might not be 6 months from now or a year from now. But I think that for what you guys are offering, for the advantages that it offers the consumer, the costs are very reasonable. And if you're working with Authenticus through your builder or architect, often they'll already have those costs built into their design process. So depending on your contract with your builder, your architect, that may already be just be a part of it with no extra cost. Or they may say, hey, it's to do this service, it's X dollars more. Um,
Well, and I'll just say, I mean, on average, you could expect to spend maybe 1,000 to 3,000 is kind of that range
okay.
to use a combination of our services, and that's a combination of our services there in that range. And you kind of compare that to a change order of a 5,000, 7,000, $10,000 change order. I mean, it's small
Yeah,
compared
I
to
mean
what could be.
to go back to my earlier laundry room example, if we caught that in the studio here during schematic design, it's a zero cost item, and your only cost really, if that's the only thing you caught, your only cost was the cost of the services here. Which again, if it was that one, two, $3,000, no big deal in the grand scheme of things. But if let's say you get all the way to construction to framing and you walk into there, you're like, wow, my washer dryer are not going to fit in this space. Now you're talking
Tens of thousands.
3 or 4x that
Yeah.
to make a change. So, you know, spend spend 2 or 3 thousand today to save $10,000 later. It's it makes sense to me.
Well, from that cost standpoint, I would say there's a couple other benefits here. One, we want this to be an experience. Like we want people to enjoy coming in, and they do. They come in and they're like, first, they kind of have the wow factor of walking in the studio, not really expecting what they expect, to see, and then we want them to enjoy the experience. So we're here to serve them, and so whether it's drinks and snacks or music or just comfort and laughs or whatever it is, like we want this to be a full experience. And so we want you to take that memory home with you. And yes, it hopefully will save you thousands of money as well. So,
All right, so we'll be showing some clips of this kind of interspersed with our conversation here on the video version of the podcast. So if you're listening to us, please go check out the video as well. So Jay, why don't you tell us real quick how people can contact you guys if they would like to learn more about your services?
sure. You contact him as your builder, and he will come to us to use our services. First, you can go to our website, www.authenticusservices.com, and you will be able to see we've spent quite a bit of time on there just kind of showing each individual service with a couple-minute video, kind of explaining it a little bit better, because we can sit here and talk about it all day. But again, this is a visualization company, so you got to see it to kind of believe it, kind of thing. And so we spent some time on those commercials, just so people can kind of see, and then we allow you to contact us different ways on there. You can set up a phone call, book an appointment. If you're a trade, as in like an architect or builder, you can schedule a tour, because we do tours all the time. We want you to come in. We want you to see it firsthand yourselves, just so we can show you what the value is.
Awesome, and they're also very active on social media. So
Yes.
if you go to their Instagram, all that social media side, they have lots of good video clips on there. And I
Yeah,
think
we have a competition of who can like more photos each day. I mean, we're kind of back and forth.
exactly, yeah, we try to like each other's posts on Instagram and LinkedIn and everything. So so you can find them on all those platforms too. So the last thing I'll say again, the thing that we talk about on the podcast over and over that we mention is that four-sided diagram of a house. The foundation is proper planning. The left wall is your team. The right wall is communication. The roof is proper execution. We use that visual over and over, and they are kind of a key component on several of those. You know, first of which is planning, but then they're also a member of the team, and then their tool helps everyone communicate to ensure that proper execution. See how nicely all that
That's
ties in together?
beautiful, beautifully done.
Beautiful, isn't it? So to me, their services are a part of all four sides of that house diagram that we talk about. Thanks for joining us again on this episode of the Your Project Shepherd podcast. Um, Please check out Jay and the Authenticus team on all their channels. And if you have any questions about their services, reach out to us. Again, we do a Q&A episode at the end of each season. So shoot us some questions. May have Jay into the studio with us to answer some of those questions if you have them, and we'll answer those as best we can. So thanks for joining us again, and we'll talk to you soon.
Pleasure.